Welcome back to The Contender. I'm Congresswoman Erin Houchin. Today we're talking about an issue every family cares about, protecting kids online. Despite what people hear about Congress being divided, the vast majority of the bills we pass are bipartisan. One of the members leading that bipartisan work with me is my guest here today, Congressman Jake Auchincloss of Massachusetts. Together, we've launched the new Kids Online Safety Caucus to advance real solutions that keep children safe in the digital world. Jake, thanks so much for joining The Contender.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, one of the things that I hear most from home is how divided Congress is. And it's not that it's not divided, but I do think that there are bright spots where Republicans and Democrats agree on issues and can come together, have a debate about what a final bill might look like, and then proceed in a bipartisan fashion. And one of the things I respect about you the most is that you come to your job with that attitude. And we've been able to find lots of things that we agree on and can work together. And we've really come together on this kids' online safety debate. What do you think is the biggest misconception about how bipartisanship is in Washington?
I think Americans don't believe that members want to work together inside the chamber when in fact we do. My first job in politics was working for Charlie Baker, the governor of Massachusetts, or the candidate for governor of Massachusetts at the time, who is a Republican. So there's a lot of areas where we can find common ground with Republicans. I think the perception that people, or the understanding that people don't have, is that a lot of times the incentives against working together are actually outside the chamber. The primary system that we have, the gerrymandering of districts across states, has meant that you get pulled to your flanks a lot. And we need politics to be less centrifugal, where it's pulling everyone to the flanks, and instead have a politics that creates incentives for people to work together.
Yeah, one of the things, I came from a state house, and most of the things that we did were bipartisan. And over 85% of the things that we do here are actually bipartisan. The things that we disagree on, sometimes our parties will vehemently disagree. But I have found that when we can come together, when we do find agreement, it's been great to work with my counterparts like you on the other side. We came together on kids' online safety. I read your Substack actually on age 16 as a standard, and I was so grateful for that. As a parent, I believe in that standard, and I had been working on this issue and looking for any Democrats that might agree with me on that. I happened to see you in the speaker's lobby and said, hey, I read your Substack. How about we find a way to work together on this issue? And it's been terrific. Your staff has been amazing. I hope that you've found the same with ours. What made that a priority for you?
It starts with being a dad. I'm the youngest dad in the Democratic caucus. I've got a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old at home. And the way I see it is I'm going to race against the clock. I've got about 3 to 5 years before they get their hands on smartphones. And I don't want my kids growing up in a digital realm where these social media corporations are trying to program their brains and keep them locked into an economy of endless scrolling.
Why do you think 16 is an important marker and threshold? When COPPA, the Kids Online Privacy Protection Act, was passed in 1996, Congress set a standard of age 13 for access to the internet. And at the time, our policymakers probably couldn't have envisioned where we are today with chatbots and social media platforms and messaging and gaming and all of the things that it's turned into. So certainly I believe that 13 is too young of a standard. Why is 16 important to you?
Totally. I think there's two different challenges. One is the enforceability and the other is the age. So right now it's 13 and totally unenforceable. You and I are working together on making it enforceable and then raising it to 16. The age 16 consideration is, to me, based on cognitive development. So we know about the adolescent brain that the dopamine reinforcement system is very sensitive, and the prefrontal cortex, basically the part of your brain that has executive function and judgment, is relatively immature. That's true for young men and young women. And that's exactly what, whether it's online gambling or social media, they are hacking into, is basically variable rewards that rewire your dopamine reinforcement system. Now that happens at 18 and 20 as well, but it's a particularly plastic stage of brain development up until 16. And I think society has a compelling interest in saying, listen, what an adult does with their free time on their phone is their business, but for a brain that's still developing, it's all of our business, and these companies can't be trusted.
Also, I would say that we have age standards for other things that we think are dangerous for kids: driving, drinking, smoking, all of these things. Bicycle helmets, seat belts.
We have child-resistant openings for pharmaceuticals.
Yes,
right?
car seats.
Absolutely. This is a very well-established set of principles for in real life. But somehow, when it morphs into online, there's this convention that, well, anything goes. Well, kids, the amount of harm that can be done to kids online is absolutely equal to the harm that can be done to them in the real world.
And have you heard from parents in your district? I know that we have certainly heard from families who've come to the Hill with sad stories, awful stories about child suicide or self-harm or engaging in dangerous behavior that's pushed by some of these algorithms. Have you heard concerns from parents, and what are their biggest concerns or greatest concerns that you think we can address through our work?
I don't have a single conversation with parents in any facet of my life, whether it's as their congressman at a town hall or it's just with my friends on a Friday night, where this subject doesn't come up in the first 10 minutes of conversation. This is going to be an absolutely salient issue for Americans in 26 and 28 in our political debate going forward, is this tension between the digital dopamine of these corporations and in real life community, about sweating and striving together with your community, and about trying to touch grass and log off and be with one another.
Yeah, when we were growing up, of course, I'm older than you, Jake, but the dangers to us were whatever trouble we could get into in the neighborhood, or stay outside until it gets dark, or go as far as you can ride your bike. The dangers were very limited to our immediate world. And then when we have children now exposed to the online world, the dangers are astronomical. Lay on AI and chatbots and other things to that. And it is a dangerous world. And I'm certain that's why this has come to the forefront. I'm just grateful to have you as a partner in leading the charge and showing some bipartisan leadership on an issue that we both really care about.
Likewise, and let's be real, it's going to take both of us rallying our colleagues on both sides of the aisle to fight back against the tech lobby, because we are up against the most powerful lobby in Washington, D.C. Meta and TikTok and Snap, these corporations have endless amounts of money. They have a whole ream of scare tactics that they deploy, and we're threatening the very core of their business model. And so they're going to hit back hard, which is why we've got to build this coalition. And
some of them are setting a 16-year-old standard, but again, we would say we need a legislative fix because that's not really enforceable. It's
not. It is an example, I will say, of the fact that even congressional attention can drive some salutary behavior in the private sector. So I fly out of DCA, you probably see the same ads I do of Instagram or TikTok. Like, we have teen accounts now, and you're like, hey,
good start.
Yes.
I'm still coming at you.
Yeah, that's right. We still are coming,
Yeah.
but good job.
I'm trying to get ahead of it, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Well, and if we didn't do the work that we're doing, to your point, I think there would be no incentive necessarily unless there were that outside pressure. We know that there's outside litigation in many states going on right now, and the states really are leading the charge. The federal government is slow to act, as always, but I do think it's very important that we revisit this 13-year-old standard, push it back to 16, and find a way to make it enforceable. So we also talk about balancing innovation with accountability. Is that a concern for you, or should we be accountability forward with innovation sort of as the last box we check?
I think it's usually a false choice that industry presents as part of their lobbying. So I don't know what they tell you when they come and try to plead their case, but they come and tell me that, if you regulate us one iota, we're going to lose to China. And I served on the select committee on China last Congress. I dug real deep on this. And one, there is no country that more regulates its tech industry than China. So don't come and tell me that somehow we have to let our kids be attention fracked by you.
Just look at the difference in TikTok in China
content
versus TikTok in America.
90 minutes, I think only for 14 and older.
Yeah.
It's just gobbledygook from them on that front. But also the things that are going to let us beat China are things where we invest in what has always made America great. It's free enterprise, it's rule of law, it's science and technology funding. And I am So I was, before I was a member of Congress, I was in business school, and I actually led the entrepreneurship competition at MIT. I love technology, I love innovation, and to the extent that these companies are innovating in the world of atoms, where we are building new things, whether it's fusion-powered energy generation, whether it's new ships, I'm all in. But what I don't want them doing is spending all their time and money creating chatbots that have, quote, sensual conversations with 12-year-olds, which is Meta's grand ambition.
I certainly think we've created a great balance with the balance between innovation and accountability. I agree with you that it doesn't have to be one or the other, and we can find a way through it. What's the one message you want tech leaders and parents to take away from our work?
I think it's really summed up in the name of the legislation that you and I are in together, which is Parents Over Platforms. It's not that we're trying to ban these social media platforms. It's not that we don't recognize the value of the internet for adults and young people both, but it's that ultimately these decisions are family decisions, and that parents should be in the driver's seat, and that these corporations need to be liable for behavior that basically robs family time with screen time.
That's great. This podcast is called The Contender. I always ask my guests to talk about who has been a contender in your life and influenced you, fighting through hard, difficult things, and doing so in a way that is with a positive attitude despite the challenges to get you where you are today. Who has that person been for you, and tell me about them?
There's just one name that keeps on popping up. I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years, and the first step in becoming an officer is to go to officer candidate school, which is like a 10-week boot camp for officers, basically in Quantico, Virginia. And there was one staff sergeant there, Staff Sergeant Lee, who was one of just the best exemplars of leadership and integrity and discipline that I had yet come across in my life. And he shared his own personal story with us towards the end of boot camp about how he ended up there. He'd had a hard youth. He'd basically been in front of a judge at one point, and the choice was jail or the Marine Corps. Chose the Marine Corps, and throughout his time in the Corps, excelled, was promoted, was above his peers, and represented to me why I wanted to be a Marine, the kind of attitude that he brought to every problem. So Staff Sergeant Lee, if you're out there, I'm thinking about you, man. Hope you're doing well. Happy holidays.
Well, thanks for your service to the country, and thanks, Sergeant Lee, for your service. Thank you for your service as a member of Congress and for being a good partner in bipartisanship with me in these very important issues. You are our inaugural Democrat that we've had on The Contender. It's been a pleasure to have you with us, Jake. Thank you so much.
Well, I look forward to more partnership in 26.
Sounds great. Well, we certainly want to thank Congressman Jake Auchincloss for being here and for the partnership on this work. Today's episode shows that Congress is more bipartisan than people think, and that protecting kids online is something we can tackle together. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in to another episode. Don't forget to subscribe, share the podcast, and stay inspired to contend, work hard, and have fun. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time.